Daisy Nelson's heart skipped a beat when she saw the missed call from the number she'd been hoping would ring for weeks. As a wedding planner struggling to establish her new business in the competitive Chicago market, every potential client mattered, especially one from the prestigious Richmond family. She'd sent her portfolio to Quincy Richmond's younger sister, Vanessa, hoping for a miracle, and now that miracle might be calling back. "Hello, this is Daisy Nelson of Daisy's Dream Days," she answered breathlessly on the return call, trying to sound professional despite her racing pulse. "Hi, Daisy. This is Vanessa Richmond. I received your portfolio and I'd love to meet to discuss planning my wedding," the warm voice replied. Daisy pumped her fist in silent celebration. The Richmonds were practically Chicago royalty with their luxury hotel empire spanning 3 continents. Their daughter's wedding would be the showcase opportunity her fledgling business desperately needed. "I'd be delighted to meet with you, Miss Richmond. When would be convenient?" Daisy asked, already opening her calendar app. "Tomorrow at 2 at the Richmond Plaza downtown." "We can use one of the private lounges," Vanessa suggested. "Perfect. I'll be there," Daisy confirmed, excitement bubbling in her voice. After hanging up, Daisy twirled around her small apartment, nearly knocking over the potted fern that served as her roommate in the tiny space. 6 months ago, she'd walked away from her secure but soul-crushing corporate event planning job to pursue her dream of creating perfect weddings. So far, she'd managed 3 modest ceremonies and a vow renewal, barely enough to keep her business afloat. The Richmond wedding could change everything. The next day, Daisy arrived at the imposing Richmond Plaza Hotel 30 minutes early, her portfolio tucked under her arm and her most professional navy blue dress smoothed nervously with sweaty palms. The gleaming marble lobby with its soaring ceilings and crystal chandeliers reminded her just how high-profile this potential client was. The concierge directed her to a private lounge on the mezzanine level, where she found not only Vanessa Richmond waiting but also an imposingly tall man in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit. He stood with his back to Daisy, looking out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the Chicago skyline. "Daisy." "So lovely to meet you," Vanessa exclaimed, rising from her seat. She was a petite brunette with a warm smile that immediately put Daisy at ease. "This is my brother, Quincy." The man turned, and Daisy felt her prepared greeting stick in her throat. Quincy Richmond had the kind of presence that commanded attention: broad shoulders, dark hair with a hint of silver at the temples, and piercing blue eyes currently fixed on her with unmistakable skepticism. "Miss Nelson." His voice was deep and cool as he extended his hand. "Mr. Richmond." "I wasn't expecting to meet you today," Daisy replied, recovering quickly and giving his hand a firm shake. "My brother insists on vetting all my wedding vendors personally," Vanessa explained with an affectionate eye roll. "He thinks being CEO of Richmond Hotels means he needs to micromanage my life too." "I prefer looking out for your best interests," Quincy corrected, his expression softening slightly when he looked at his sister before turning that scrutinizing gaze back to Daisy. "Your business is relatively new, I understand." It wasn't a question, but a statement layered with doubt. "Yes, I established Daisy's Dream Days about 6 months ago, but I have 8 years of corporate event planning experience with Monarch Industries," Daisy answered confidently. "I've organized events for up to 500 guests with budgets exceeding $1 million. "And how many weddings have you planned independently?" Quincy pressed. 4 successful weddings to date," Daisy said, opening her portfolio. "What I lack in quantity, I make up for with personal attention and creative solutions." For the next hour, Daisy presented her vision, responding to Vanessa's enthusiastic questions and Quincy's more pointed ones. It became clear that while Vanessa was ready to hire her on the spot, her brother remained unconvinced. "Vanessa is thinking of 300 guests," Quincy said, leaning forward. "International family members, business associates, media attention. Are you equipped to handle that scale?" "Absolutely," Daisy nodded, though her stomach fluttered nervously. I've already scouted several venues that could accommodate such a gathering. With your hotel resources, we could create something truly spectacular. But more importantly, I'll ensure your sister's personal vision shines through the grandeur. Vanessa clapped her hands. That's exactly what I want. I don't want just another stuffy Richmond event. I want something that feels like Logan and me. Logan Marshall, Vanessa's fiancé, Quincy explained, his tone suggesting he wasn't entirely thrilled about this match either. A teacher, right? Daisy smiled at Vanessa. Your portfolio mentioned you met while volunteering at a literacy program. Vanessa beamed. Yes. Logan teaches high school English in the South Side. He's amazing with his students. A noble profession, Daisy said sincerely, noticing Quincy's jaw tighten slightly. I'm sure Miss Nelson is very busy, Quincy said abruptly, standing. We should let her go while we discuss our options. Daisy's heart sank. She hadn't won him over. Vanessa, however, had other ideas. Actually, I've decided I want to hire Daisy. She turned to her with a bright smile. You understand what I'm looking for: a wedding that honors our family tradition but feels personal and meaningful. Quincy's expression remained impassive, but Daisy detected a slight twitch in his left eyebrow. Vanessa, we should, I'm getting married in 5 months. I need to make decisions, Vanessa said firmly. And I've decided on Daisy. The siblings engaged in a silent standoff that Daisy pretended not to notice by reorganizing her portfolio pages. Finally, Quincy sighed. Fine, but I want weekly progress reports and I'll be approving all vendor contracts personally. Of course, Daisy agreed quickly, heart soaring despite the intimidating conditions. I'll prepare a detailed timeline and initial concepts by next week. As they said their goodbyes, Quincy handed Daisy his business card. Call my office to set up a meeting for those progress reports. My assistant will find time in my schedule. Actually, Vanessa interrupted, I think you should handle this directly, No assistants. This is my wedding, not a business merger. Another silent sibling exchange passed before Quincy relented. Fine, my direct number is on the back. Friday afternoons work best. Walking out of Richmond Plaza, Daisy clutched her portfolio to her chest, emotions swirling between elation at landing the contract and apprehension about working with the intimidating Quincy Richmond. She had no idea that first meeting had set in motion events that would change both their lives forever. The following Friday, Daisy arrived at Quincy's office on the top floor of Richmond Plaza with a comprehensive presentation. His assistant, an efficiently polished woman named Patricia, ushered her into a corner office with spectacular views of Lake Michigan. Miss Nelson. Right on time, Quincy said, rising from behind an imposing desk. Today he wore a navy suit that made his eyes seem even bluer. Punctuality is essential in wedding planning, Daisy replied. May I? She gestured to the conference table near the window. For the next 45 minutes, Daisy outlined her vision for Vanessa's wedding, a sophisticated blend of Richmond grandeur and the personal touches that reflected the couple's love story. She'd researched Logan extensively, incorporating elements that honored his passion for literature and teaching. These custom bookmark favors with quotes from the couple's favorite books are unexpected, Quincy commented, examining the mock-up, but perfect for them, Daisy countered. Your sister mentioned their shared love of classic literature was what first connected them. A flicker of surprise crossed his face. She told you that? I make it my business to understand the couple's story, Daisy explained. It's what makes each wedding unique. And the venue. The Richmond Grand in Michigan Avenue would be the obvious choice. Daisy took a deep breath. Actually, I'm proposing something different. The Chicago Literary Society has a historic building with a magnificent library and ballroom. It's smaller than your properties but infinitely more meaningful for them. She waited for his rejection, but Quincy merely studied the photographs with a thoughtful expression. It's unconventional, he finally said, but I can see why Vanessa might prefer it. Encouraged, Daisy continued through her presentation. By the end, Quincy's rigid posture had relaxed slightly, and he even offered a few constructive suggestions. "You're more thorough than I expected, Miss Nelson," he admitted as they concluded. "Just Daisy, please, and thank you." "I take my responsibilities seriously." "Indeed." He escorted her to the door. "Same time next week." "I'll be here," Daisy promised. Over the next 4 weeks, their Friday meetings became more collaborative. Quincy's initial skepticism gradually gave way to grudging respect as Daisy demonstrated her expertise and dedication. She found herself looking forward to their sessions, preparing meticulously not just to impress him professionally, but because she genuinely enjoyed their discussions. During their 5th meeting, they were interrupted by Vanessa bursting into the office, tears streaming down her face. The Literary Society just called. There was a pipe burst and they've had to close the building for repairs. They've canceled all events for the next 6 months, she sobbed. Daisy immediately moved to comfort her. "Vanessa, I'm so sorry, but this is exactly why we build contingencies into our planning. Let me handle this." 4 months until the wedding and no venue, Vanessa cried. "It's a disaster, it's a challenge," Daisy corrected gently. "Not a disaster." "I actually toured 3 backup venues last week, just in case." Quincy, who had been watching silently, raised an eyebrow. "You did. Always have a plan B, C, and preferably D," Daisy said with a small smile. "Vanessa, why don't we meet tomorrow to review the alternatives?" "I promise you'll love at least one of them." Vanessa sniffled, her panic subsiding. "You really think so?" "I know so. Trust me." After Vanessa left, somewhat calmer, Quincy regarded Daisy with newfound appreciation. "You anticipated this." "Not specifically, but venues fall through more often than you'd think. Weather issues, renovations running long, ownership changes." She shrugged. "Part of my job is preparing for the unexpected. Most people would be panicking right now." "Panic doesn't solve problems," Daisy said simply. "Action does." Quincy studied her for a long moment. "Let me help with the venue situation. What are your alternatives?" "The Botanical Gardens, the Art Institute's modern wing, and the Adler Planetarium," Daisy listed. "All beautiful, but none have quite the literary connection." "What about the Richardson Library?" Quincy suggested. "The Rare Book Room has a connecting event space. It's not widely known, but as a major donor, I might be able to arrange access." Daisy's eyes widened. "That would be perfect. Their collection of first editions would thrill Logan." "I'll make some calls," Quincy offered, already reaching for his phone. "Thank you," Daisy said sincerely, touched by his willingness to help. "I'm just looking out for Vanessa," he replied, but his smile seemed to carry a different message. The next day, Quincy personally accompanied Daisy and Vanessa to tour the Richardson Library. As they walked through the magnificent Rare Book Room with its soaring shelves and reading nooks, Daisy couldn't help noticing how Quincy kept watching her reactions rather than the space itself. "This is even more perfect than the Literary Society," Vanessa declared. "Daisy, you're a miracle worker." "Your brother deserves the credit for this solution," Daisy said honestly. "Teamwork," Quincy corrected, his hand briefly touching Daisy's shoulder. That small contact sent an unexpected warmth through her. Dangerous territory, she warned herself. He's a client's brother, not to mention way out of your league. Over the next few weeks, Daisy found herself spending more time with Quincy as they coordinated the complex logistics of the library venue. Their Friday meetings extended to impromptu calls and occasional coffee discussions about wedding details. During one such coffee meeting at a small cafe near her apartment, Quincy surprised her by asking about her background. "What made you leave corporate events for weddings?" he asked, stirring his espresso. "Seems like a risky move." Daisy considered her answer. "I planned a friend's wedding as a favor 2 years ago. It was modest backyard ceremony, community center reception, but seeing her face when everything came together. It was different from corporate events, more meaningful." "How so?" "Corporate events are about brand impression and networking opportunities. Weddings are about love, family, creating a memory that lasts a lifetime. She smiled softly. I realized I wanted my work to mean something more personal, even if it meant financial uncertainty. Some things are worth the risk, she said simply. Quincy nodded slowly. I understand that better than you might think. Do you? Your family business seems very secure. It wasn't always. His expression grew distant. Our father died when I was 22 and Vanessa was just 16. The company was struggling with debt and outdated properties. Everyone advised selling. But you didn't. I couldn't. It was our legacy, our home. Richmond Plaza was where we grew up, literally, in the penthouse apartment. He met her eyes. I dropped out of my MBA program to take over, worked 18-hour days for years to turn things around. For Vanessa, Daisy realized. She needed stability after losing our parents. The business was all we had left of them. His voice softened. That's why this wedding matters so much. It's not just about giving her everything she deserves. It's what our mother would have wanted to do for her. In that moment, Daisy saw past the intimidating CEO to the brother who had sacrificed his own youth to protect his sister. Something shifted between them, a new understanding, a deeper connection. The conversation might have continued, but Daisy's phone rang with a call from the florist about a potential problem with Vanessa's chosen peonies. As she handled the crisis, Quincy watched her with undisguised admiration. When she hung up, he said quietly, "You're very good at what you do, Daisy." The way he said her name made her cheeks warm. "Thank you. Would you like to have dinner sometime?" he asked suddenly. Not to discuss the wedding, just dinner. Daisy's heart raced. "I don't think that would be appropriate while I'm working for your sister." Disappointment flashed across his face, but he nodded. "You're right, of course, very professional." The moment passed, but something had changed. Their interactions took on a new charge, lingering glances, conversations that strayed beyond wedding details, standing perhaps a bit closer than necessary when reviewing floor plans. 3 weeks before the wedding, disaster struck again. The master baker creating Vanessa's elaborate 5-tier cake was hospitalized with appendicitis. His apprentices couldn't handle the complex design, and every other high-end bakery in Chicago was booked solid. "I'm so sorry, Vanessa," Daisy said during an emergency meeting in the Richmond penthouse. "I've called every bakery in the city and 3 in the suburbs. No one can take on such an elaborate cake with this timeline." "But the cake design matches everything," Vanessa said desperately. "The sugar, flowers, the book page details, the quote inscriptions." Quincy, who had been silently observing, suddenly spoke up. "What about Alina?" Vanessa's eyes widened. "Alina, of course." "Who's Alina?" Daisy asked. "Our former housekeeper," Quincy explained. "She practically raised us after our mother died." "She's retired now, but was an incredible baker. She made all our birthday cakes growing up." Could she handle something this elaborate? Daisy wondered doubtfully. "She trained in Paris before becoming a housekeeper," Vanessa said excitedly. "She only stopped because of her arthritis, but a few years ago she told me the new medications were working wonders." "It's worth asking," Quincy said, already reaching for his phone. "She adores Vanessa." 30 minutes later, they were sitting in a cozy apartment in Lincoln Park, where Alina Reynolds, an elegant woman in her 70s with silver hair and kind eyes, studied the cake designs thoughtfully. "The structure is ambitious," she mused, "but doable. The sugar flowers will take time, but I can start those tomorrow." "You really think you can do it?" Vanessa asked hopefully. Alina patted her hand. "My dear, I made wedding cakes for royal families in Europe before I came to work for your parents. This will be my pleasure, my gift to you." As they left Alina's apartment, Vanessa hugged Daisy tightly. "See, this is why I hired you. You don't just solve problems, you make them into something better than the original plan." "I didn't do anything this time," Daisy protested. "It was Quincy's idea." "But you created the environment where solutions happen," Quincy said quietly. "That's your real talent." Later, as Quincy walked Daisy to her car, he surprised her by asking, "Would you join me for dinner at Alina's next Sunday?" She insists on feeding us while we check on the cake progress. Is Vanessa coming? She has a dress fitting, but Alina specifically asked for you to come. She wants to discuss the cake delivery logistics. It was a perfectly reasonable explanation, yet something in Quincy's expression suggested there might be more to the invitation. Just to discuss the cake, Daisy clarified. Of course, he agreed, though his slight smile said otherwise. Sunday dinner at Alina's turned out to be a revelation. Watching Quincy in the warm, homey environment helping set the table, teasing Alina about her overfeeding tendencies, sharing childhood stories showed Daisy a side of him completely at odds with his corporate persona. Miss Daisy, you must try my roast, Alina insisted, piling Daisy's plate high. It was always Quincy's favorite. This boy would eat 3 servings every Sunday. I was a growing teenager, Quincy defended himself, laughing. You were insatiable, Alina corrected fondly. Just like his father. Good appetite, good heart. After dinner, while Alina showed Daisy her progress on the sugar flowers, Quincy washed dishes in the kitchen. The domesticity of the scene made Daisy's heart ache with unexpected longing. He watches you, you know, Alina said softly, her clever eyes missing nothing. The way his father used to watch his mother. We're working together on Vanessa's wedding, Daisy explained quickly. That's all. Alina's knowing smile said she believed otherwise. He hasn't brought anyone to my home since college, not even that society woman he dated last year. On the drive back to Daisy's apartment, a comfortable silence filled the car until Quincy finally spoke. Thank you for coming today. Alina doesn't get many visitors anymore. She's wonderful. I can see why you and Vanessa love her so much. She's family, Quincy said simply. One of the few constants in our lives. When they reached her building, Quincy insisted on walking her to her door. Old-fashioned manners, he claimed. Outside her apartment, Daisy fumbled with her keys, suddenly nervous. Thank you for tonight, she said. It was lovely. Daisy, Quincy's voice was soft but intense. After the wedding. The unspoken question hung between them. After the wedding, she agreed quietly, meeting his gaze. He smiled, then a genuine, unguarded smile that transformed his face before bidding her goodnight. The final week before the wedding was a whirlwind of last-minute details, vendor confirmations, and family drama when Logan's mother objected to sitting at the same table as his stepfather. Through it all, Daisy maintained her calm efficiency, solving problems before most people even realized they existed. Quincy found increasingly frequent reasons to check in on the preparations, bringing coffee when Daisy was working late at the venue, or offering his driver when she had multiple errands across the city. Each gesture, each moment of thoughtfulness only strengthened the connection growing between them. The night before the wedding, during the rehearsal dinner, Vanessa pulled Daisy aside. I need to thank you, she said earnestly. Not just for the wedding, which is going to be perfect, but for my brother. What do you mean? Daisy asked, though her quickening pulse suggested she understood. He's different around you, lighter, more like the Quincy I remember from before our parents died. Vanessa squeezed her hand. I haven't seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. We've just been working closely on your wedding, Daisy demurred. Vanessa laughed. Right, and I'm marrying Logan because I like his book recommendations. Before Daisy could respond, they were interrupted by the wedding coordinator Daisy had hired to manage the actual day so she could attend as a guest at Vanessa's insistence. The wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. Daisy arrived early to oversee final preparations, wearing the emerald green dress she'd purchased specially for the occasion. She was adjusting a floral arrangement when she felt a presence behind her. You should be with the groomsmen, she said without turning, knowing instinctively it was Quincy. I needed to see you first, he replied. You've created a miracle here, Daisy. She turned to find him resplendent in his tuxedo, holding something behind his back. It was my pleasure. Vanessa deserves her perfect day. As do you. He brought forward a small bouquet of peonies, not the white ones used in the wedding decorations, but vibrant pink ones. These reminded me of you, bold, beautiful, uncompromising. Quincy, she whispered, accepting the flowers. They're lovely. Daisy, I know we agreed to wait until after the wedding, but I need to say this now. His blue eyes held hers intently. These past months working with you have been transformative. You see solutions where others see problems. You create beauty and meaning everywhere you go. Her heart hammered in her chest. Quincy, let me finish, he said gently. For years, I've focused on securing the family business, protecting Vanessa, expanding our legacy. I forgot there might be more to life than responsibility. He took her hand. You reminded me. The wedding coordinator appeared at the doorway. Mr. Richmond, they're ready for you. We'll continue this conversation at the reception, Quincy promised, bringing Daisy's hand briefly to his lips before departing. The ceremony was everything Daisy had envisioned, elegant yet personal, grand yet intimate. Aliner's cake stood as a masterpiece in the reception hall, drawing gasps of admiration. Vanessa and Logan's joy radiated throughout the celebration, touching everyone present. During the reception, after his toast to the newlyweds, Quincy found Daisy watching the dancing from the sidelines. "May I have this dance?" he asked formally, extending his hand. On the dance floor, he held her closer than strictly necessary, his hand warm against the small of her back. "You fulfilled every promise you made about this wedding," he murmured. "I always deliver what I promise," she replied, looking up at him. "And if I were to ask for a promise regarding your plans after tonight, that would depend on the promise," she said, her pulse quickening. The music changed to a slower song and Quincy drew her closer. "Have dinner with me tomorrow, no wedding talk, no vendor discussions, just us." "Yes," she said simply, his smile was breathtaking. "I should warn you, I intend for it to be the first of many dinners." "I should warn you, I don't do things halfway," she countered. "If we start this, I'm all in." "Perfect," he murmured, bending to brush his lips softly against hers. "Because halfway has never been in my vocabulary either." 1 year later, Daisy stood in the bridal suite of Richmond Plaza's newly renovated rooftop garden, where Vanessa was helping her with the final touches on her wedding dress. "I still can't believe you're going to be my sister," Vanessa said, adjusting Daisy's veil. "Though honestly, I knew it from that first meeting. The way Quincy kept finding faults with your perfectly reasonable proposal's classic deflection." "He was just being protective of you," Daisy laughed. "No, he was being attracted to you and fighting it," Vanessa corrected. "And now look at you, the wedding planner, becoming the bride." There was a knock at the door, and Aliner entered, dabbing at her eyes. "The flowers have arrived, and they're magnificent, almost as magnificent as you, my dear." Daisy embraced the older woman who had become like family to her. "Thank you for everything, Aliner, especially the cake." 4 tiers instead of 5, Aliner teased, referring to the slightly smaller but equally elaborate wedding cake she'd created for today. "Quincy insisted you would want something more elegantly proportioned for the guest count." "He knows me well," Daisy admitted with a smile. When it was time, Daisy walked down the aisle alone, her choice, representing her independent journey to this moment. Quincy waited at the altar, his expression transforming from composed CEO to awestruck man as she approached. As she reached him, he whispered, "You've planned hundreds of perfect moments for others. Today, every perfect moment is for us." "I love you," she whispered back. "All in, remember, all in," he agreed, taking her hand, "for the rest of our lives." Under a canopy of flowers with the Chicago skyline behind them, surrounded by friends and family, Daisy and Quincy exchanged vows that were both a culmination and a beginning, a perfect wedding day that, unlike the many she had planned for others, was just the first chapter of their own love story.